Happy New Year! Those who have followed me through the years know that I used to review comics over at Ain't It Cool News back in the day. Since I left in 2016, I've steered away from reviewing comics, mainly because I've been working on my own creative projects, including my own comic books. I do still try to point people in the right direction of good horror, and frequently post a This Week's in Horror Comics video alerting folks that horror is still alive and kicking on the comic book shelves. Here's a list of horror comics that stood out to me on the racks in 2024. First up is Mad Cave Studios' Charred Remains. Mad Cave has always offered up some refreshing horror. This year, they unleashed the fiery fury of Charred Remains by writer and former forensics technician Anthony Cleveland and artist Andrea Mutti, who is the hardest working artist in the biz right now. The story involves a political conspiracy revolving around a series of fires caused by a serial arsonist known only as the Fireman. It's a fun little mystery, like a supernatural backdraft, and worth looking out for. There have been a lot of horror anthologies released this year, attempting to harken back to those fantastic EC comics of old, like Tales from the Crypt. Most of them are simply okay, but some of them completely miss the mark by infusing thinly veiled politics into their stories. One of the anthologies that has done it the least is Hello Darkness, a limited series from Boom Studios. Or maybe it's ongoing, I'm not sure. In each issue so far, there's a James Tynion IV, Something is Killing the Children story, and a multi-chaptered story by Garth Ennis about the end of the world. So far, there have been quite a few unsettling stories and fantastically gory and surreal pinups in this book. Hopefully, this anthology sticks around. Another odd one is Fish Flies, a limited series from Image Comics, from the soulful yet demented mind of Jeff Lemire. This is a story about a criminal who turns into a man-sized bug and the girl who tries to save him. It's a redemption story where a human monster doesn't find his soul until he becomes a monster himself, and it's quite beautiful, yet absolutely surreal. The ghostly art from Lemire is great, and you can tell this was a personal story from the acclaimed comics scribe. The Nightclub 2 is a miniseries from Dark Horse Comics. It moved from Image to Dark Horse this year, but the quality of storytelling from Mark Millar and his artist Juanan Ramirez hasn't faded. Reminiscent of a horror-infused version of Millar's Kick-Ass, this schmelding of ground-level superheroics and the supernatural is a true page-turner. The first series delves into this team of lovable young heroes as they decide to use their powers for good, but this second series deals with them being tempted by the darkness of their powers. This is fun superhero horror, and Marvel should take notes. Speaking of Marvel, they do have one horror comic that is surprisingly fun coming out. I've been a Werewolf by Night fan for ages, but the last few years have seen the distillation of the character by introducing another Native American Werewolf by Night. Of course, that went nowhere, so Jack Russell is back and wolfier than ever. I don't want to overhype this book, it's just pretty okay, but it's better than most, coming from Marvel these days. Writer Jason Loo and his energetic artist Sergio Fernández Dávila are embracing the old stories from the Werewolf by Night series from the 70s and incorporating Russell in with other Marvel horror heroes and villains like Moon Knight and Alyssa Bloodstone. Embracing the character's rich history and incorporating the character uniquely with others in the Marvel universe? Imagine that. I wish more Marvel comics would do this. Another werewolf comic that's kicking all kinds of ass is Batman Full Moon. It's a miniseries from DC Comics. Rodney Barnes writes a wicked take on Gotham as Batman seeks help from John Constantine, Zatanna, and Kurt Langstrom, aka the Man-Bat, to help him track down a werewolf on the rampage in the streets of Gotham. The series is still going, but when we last left Batman, he was transforming into a werewolf inside of the Batmobile. Alfred will never get all of those hairs out. The true seller is mouth-watering art by Stevan Subic. This is just a gorgeous-looking book. Universal Monsters Frankenstein is a miniseries from Image Comics. It gives new life to the Mary Shelley classic by focusing on different characters and perspectives. I especially liked how this series gave voice to the demented Fritz, who later became known as the hunchbacked lab assistant Igor. Michael Walsh delivers a script and art for this stunning take on the classic that no horror fan should miss. Universal Monsters' Dracula is another reimagining of a classic monster, this time told mainly from the perspective of the maniacal Renfield and his physician, Dr. Seward. Again, telling this story from a different perspective makes all the difference in the world in transforming this age-old story into something fresh and new. This is great comic booking from writer James Tynion IV with sumptuous art by Martin Simmonds. Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees is a miniseries from IDW Publishing, and it was one of the big surprises in horror comics this year. Patrick Horvath and Hassan Otsmane-Elhaou refreshed the slasher genre with a tale of an anthropomorphic town haunted by a serial killer. While the characters seem like they've been ripped straight from a Richard Scarry book, they do some downright heinous things, making this one of the more twisted reads you're going to find this year. Another interesting take on serial killers was last year's Stray Dogs, which told the story of a slasher who kills gals walking their dogs and then keeps the dogs as trophies. This story was told from the doggy perspective and intrigued as much as it tugged on the heartstrings. Well, the team behind Stray Dogs, writer Tony Fleeks and his artists Trish Forstner and Tone Rodriguez, are at it again with Feral, a new miniseries from Image Comics. This time, a strain of advanced rabies is spreading fast among the animal populace, and a group of stray cats are trying to survive and get to some kind of safe haven before becoming one of the infected. It's zombie horror with cats. Need I say more? Just get it. Hyde Street is an ongoing series from Image Comics and Ghost Machine. It's another anthology of sorts as Jeff Johns and his all-star artist Ivan Rice deliver a group of twisted characters tempting any innocent soul who happens upon the titular street to head over to the dark side. The series is slowly introducing its characters in its first issues, so this is the perfect time to hop on. Johns delivered big this year with his Ghost Machine imprint at Image, and he's always held a firm grip on horror. Hyde Street is definitely proof of that. Ice Cream Man is an ongoing series from Image Comics and has been one of the most consistently entertaining comics since its inception. W. Maxwell Prince is a modern-day Rod Serling offering up off-kilter and often nightmarish takes on the human condition. Martin Morazzo delivers a simple and realistic style, making the strangeness all the more disturbing. This year saw a car wreck in slow-mo, going into the lives of everyone involved in it, a twisted take on Moby Dick, and all kinds of dank and dark mental minutia. I'm jealous of you if you've never read Ice Cream Man, since that means you get to experience all of the nightmares and thrills this book has to offer. Finally, this is more of a recognition than an actual pick. I haven't been able to get my hands on the Crying Boy miniseries from writer Neil O'Rourke and artist Rob Moran from new publisher Keenspot, but I look forward to catching up with it. What I wanted to point out with this series, though, were the fantastically gruesome covers by Carlos Fabian Villa. Just check out that Nightmare Fuel. I'm looking forward to this series and especially seeing more work from cover artist Villa. Looks like Villa is going to be providing art in upcoming issues of Blade, so I can't wait to see that. Well, those were 13 picks of comics that I found to be the best of the year. Do you guys read comics? I think maybe some of you do. Let me know which horror comics are your favorites of the year down in the comments. Please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're